So, welcome to another episode of the OrganizedPreneur podcast. I am Aldreama Harper, your host. I'm also a podcast launch strategist and online business systems specialist. And this is where I assist female podcasters to navigate the complexities of launching and growing a podcast. And as an online business system strategist, I help my clients in streamlining their digital operations, implementing efficient workflows, and leveraging tools to enhance their productivity, scalability for their online business. And so the skills that you're going to acquire from listening to the podcast, attending the master classes are all applicable to various aspects of your business way beyond podcasting. So welcome again to another episode. Now, what can you expect? Well, you can expect actionable insights and practical tools that you can apply immediately to launch and grow your podcast. And these steps we'll be going through are actually foundational building blocks to prepare you for a more successful podcast launch. So, as I always say, take notes, but more importantly, take action. Why? Because podcasting is not just about creating content, it is also about strategically positioning yourself in a competitive market. So, this is actually part two from the previous podcast where we were talking about some of the tools, rather proven strategies, to drive traffic to your podcast. So we were talking about some tools and resources to help you to capture attention and grow your audience. And so this is part two, and this was actually inspired from a quote that I saw from a newsletter from Jeremy Inns from the Scrappy podcast. And actually, it's part of a quote. But I just loved it so much. I felt like it was a great idea to go ahead and create an episode around it, right? So the quote was, "Our job, okay, as podcast creators is to find ways to capture people's attention elsewhere and then direct them back to our shows." Right. And so in this episode, again, this is part two, because in part one, I actually gave four strategies. And so I said that there were nine. And so in part two, we're going to continue with the other five. And so we're going to be diving into some powerful strategies that will help you to capture attention across various platforms and direct them back to your podcast. Okay. I want to help you to strategically engage your audience, convert interest into loyal podcast listeners, and ultimately drive consistent traffic to your podcast. Why is that? Because capturing people's attention elsewhere and driving them back to your podcast involves a mix of content placement, engagement, and leveraging various platforms. So, what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of break it down, the why, the who, and the how for each method. So, again, I want you to take notes, but more importantly, take action. So let's just dive in. And we're going to start with number five, and then I'll give like a recap. Okay. So here's number five. Number five, the strategy is about using lead magnets and freebies. Lead magnets and freebies. So you may be wondering, if you, particularly if you're new to, the online space and things like that, you may not know what they are. But if you're at any point in time in the online space, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or any of the social platforms, you've experienced lead magnets and freebies, right? And so basically what they are downloadable resources like a checklist, a template, and they're all related to whatever it is, or whatever you want the person that's engaging in your lead magnet to experience. And the lead magnet is going to require an email a subscription to access it. So it's like that's like the currency, right? Your email is the currency. And so you want to incorporate lead magnets and freebies and leverage that to build your email list, and leverage email marketing to direct those subscribers back to your podcast. Okay. And so they're so easy to do. As a matter of fact, I do those all the time and they really, really work. Now, the thing is, it has to be a really good resource. And it really does have to incorporate someone that what it has to do is it has to give someone a success. Someone, the person that downloads your resource, your freebie, whether it's a checklist, a template, or an audio recording, it has to help them solve a problem. Okay, a problem. It can solve just one problem, but that's what the power of having lead magnets and giving away freebies, right? Now, a couple of other lead magnets, and I've tried this as well, is to run a challenge or a contest that ties back to your podcast theme, right? And when I say challenge, like a 5-day challenge or a 3-day masterclass or something like that, where it's like having a virtual event or some type of challenge or contest that helps the subscriber or helps the person that's looking for your solution to solve a problem. Okay, and so you can encourage them to listen to specific episodes to gain tips or hints that will help them in the challenge. Now, there here's the thing, there are a whole lot of different challenges, different types of challenges, right? But when I'm talking about a challenge, I'm talking about, like, again, those 5-day challenges that you see all over social media, where people are engaged in some type of challenge that's going to help them, again, solve some type of problem. That's a lead magnet and a freebie. Now, it doesn't have to be free. It depends on what problem you're helping them to solve. But the deal is, offering valuable resources really does attract potential listeners because you're providing immediate value. And once they're on your email list, the thing you want to do is you want to nurture them into podcast listeners. Okay. Now, the excuse me. So this is really ideal for podcasters who have a service-based business, offer or those who offer educational content. For example, it targets the potential listeners who's looking for actionable resources. Again, solve some type of problem. And so, again, that could be a checklist or an ebook. And so, this is ideal for podcasters with service based businesses or those who offer educational type of content. And so, you again, the goal is to help them to solve a problem. Okay. Um, and so that is lead magnets and freebies. Let's move on to the next one. So, number 6 is community engagement. Community engagement. So, you are either participating in one or you either have one. It could be on different social media platforms, it could be on Facebook, or Reddit, or, different social media platforms. So I actually have a Facebook community, a free Facebook community for my business and podcasting society. And so this is where I provide value, sharing insights, and always linking them back to the podcast when it's relevant. Not only that, I host events. So you want to, within your community, since you have what I call a captive audience when they are part of your private community or even a public community. You can organize events, virtual events. Well, it could actually be in-person events, right? But you can do that and mention your podcast as a resource for attendees to learn more. So let's just say you are hosting an in-person event and you're talking about a particular topic. Your lead magnet can be your podcast. And in speaking to the participants, the attendees, you can say, hey, so if you want to find out more about XYZ123, then go ahead and go to, for example, organizedpreneurpodcast.com to learn more. And this is an amazing way to actually get people subscribed to your podcast and learning more about what you do, and how you can help them and help them with those resources, right? And so this is actually ideal for podcasters who enjoy interacting directly with their target audience in forums or groups, because it targets engaged users who are actively seeking advice or information, and based on what you can again help them, the problem that you can help them solve, right? And so that is another type of lead. It's actually more of it's not a lead magnet, because we just talked about that, but that's another strategy for driving traffic to your podcast. Okay, so number 7 is collaborations with influencers. Collaborations with influencers. Now that can look a whole lot of different ways, but for the sake of time, we'll just talk a little bit about what that involves. So you can partner with influencers or thought leaders in your niche, right? And have them to mention your podcast in their content, or collaborate on an episode with them that exposes you to their audience, right? So that's collaboration with influencers. So influencer collaborations can introduce you to a larger audience, and that way you're leveraging the influencers trust and following, and their following, which can significantly boost your podcast visibility when you have an influencer that has a huge following, right? And so this is best for podcasters who can identify influencers within their niche and target their audience, which will likely share similar interests to your own. This happens all the time, and it's a great way to, again, what we're talking about, drive traffic to your podcast. Okay, so that's collaboration with influencers. And so what you want to do is you can search for them, right? And reach out to them, right? And see whether or not you guys can collaborate. Okay, and so it's a great way, it's a great strategy, right? All right, so number 8 is cross promotion. So cross promote with other creators. And so this is a little bit different from influencers, because they may or may not have a whole lot of followers, and even with of influencers, sometimes it may cost a lot of money. But when you cross promote with other creators in, maybe in the YouTube space, or bloggers, for example, they can promote your podcast to their audience, and you can do the same. So it's just like an arrangement that you guys make sure that they, you guys are in alignment, and because you definitely want to be, um, you want to make sure that they are in alignment with your goals, and vice versa, right? And it's a way that, it I'm trying to think of the right word. So I guess the right word would be making sure that not only are they in alignment with your goals, but with your core values. Okay, so you want to be very, very strategic about that, because you want to be careful about who you align yourself with. Okay. Now, cross promotion allows you to tap into another creator's audience, just like we were talking about influencers. But both parties benefit, right, by expanding each other's reach. And it's a mutually beneficial way to grow your listener audience. Whereas, like influencers, one of the reasons why they may want you to, pay for it is because you have more to gain than what they do. Okay, so it just depends on how you want to look at it, right? So cross promoting with other creators. Okay. And the thing that you can do from a practical standpoint when you do cross promote, you can give shout outs. You can do guest blogging, guest podcasting on each other's platform. As a matter of fact, I just did one today, with um, a young lady that we have been, doing this off and on for the past few months now. So we actually tap into each other's audience. And so it's a great way to cross promote. Okay. All right. Number 9 is public speaking and workshops. Okay. Speak at industry events. Now, in this case, you're not necessarily hosting your own event, you are participating as a speaker in maybe industry events, webinars, and conferences. But in that particular situation, you mention your podcast during your talk to encourage attendees to listen for more insights. Okay. And again, you provide the website, the link, or a handout or follow-up email that links to your podcast. And speaking at events positions you as an authority in your field, and it allows you to connect with an engaged audience. And it's a very, very powerful way to drive traffic back to your podcast for further insights. It's definitely ideal for podcasters who enjoy public speaking and have expertise to share, which all of you who are listening, fall into that category, right? So I've shared with you 9 ways total. So today was, 5 ways. In the previous episode, as I said, were 4 ways. And so in total, we talked about social media teasers, guest appearances, content repurposing, SEO and blogging, lead magnets and freebies, community engagement, collaborations with influencers, cross promotion, and public speaking and workshops. And the deal is this: when you are strategically placing your content and engaging with your audience across different platforms and providing value up front, you can effectively direct people back to your podcast. Now, here's my question that I ask at the end of every, well, not the end of every episode. I think maybe I just kind of started doing that. But what strategy resonates with you? I would love to know what strategy resonates with you, because it may not be all of them, but it could be, a few of them. Okay. And so you want to deploy some, or, one or more of those strategies to get people back to your podcast. All right. And so what are you going to do to get past the hurdle? If there's a if that is something that seems to be an obstacle or a challenge for you, what are you going to do to get past that hurdle? Because you got to start, right? You got to start. You got to take action. Don't just take notes, take action, right? So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're interested in closing the gap between where you are now and where you want to go, and you want to learn how to fill in that gap, then feel free to book a success strategy call with me, where I will share options that's available at that time, for you to take advantage of. And if it makes sense for us to work together, we'll discuss how to move forward. Okay. Now, I do like to end with a scripture. And so today's scripture is from Proverbs 22:6. And this is the NIV version. It says, "Start children off on the way they should go. And even when they are old, they will not turn from it." All right. So listen, thank you for joining me. I hope you've been inspired by what I've shared today. I hope these tips and strategies are helping you to move forward in your podcasting endeavors. And if you want to book that strategy call, I forgot to give you the link. That is bit.ly, that's bit.ly/ pod launch strategy. I would love to talk to you about where you're trying to go in your podcasting endeavors. Okay, so until next time, stay organized and happy podcasting.